hoping then. But yeah, apart from that, this is it. So what we seem to talk about in the meetings is really that life has nothing to say. Life is not going anywhere. It has no goal, no destination, no reward, no outcome or realization, no meaning, no purpose, no motivation, no drive, absolutely nothing at all. The suggestion here is that life, or what seems to be happening, is nothing at all. That's what life seems to be. Nothing, appearing as this, appearing as life or whatever. And so, of course, this is wonderfully liberating and freeing for no one, because life does not matter in that way. Nothing matters in that way. There's no one who cares what happens in that personal sort of sense, because there's just what happens without somebody in it who cares. Yeah, so if we want to call this a message, we can, of course, but it doesn't need to be called a message, because this isn't really saying anything at all. There is no actual message that's being suggested or spoken. In fact, that is the only thing we seem to call a message, that there isn't one whatsoever. So again, this is wonderfully freeing and liberating, because there is no teaching. There's nothing that anyone needs to learn or know or understand or recognize or remember or repeat or recite for this to be what it is. Life seems to just be a wonderful gift for no one that appears to happen, doesn't actually happen, just appears to happen. And it's totally free of needing anything. It doesn't even need you to be in it. It doesn't even need you to be aware of it or to become it or to know it or to merge with it. It's so wonderfully free and so boundless and wild that it doesn't need anyone in it. It just seems to do itself, you could say, and seems to appear in certain ways, and it can appear in any ways, and it seems to just dance with itself, you could say, for absolutely no reason at all. And this is not some far away, far-fetched sort of thing or concept or idea. What's being suggested on these meetings is what's happening right now. What seems to be happening right now is full-on life happening right now, apparently happening. Sitting on a chair, looking at a screen, there being an apparently alive body, an alive human organism that sits on a chair, that breathes, that functions, that looks at a screen, that maybe thinks or asks a question or whatever. This is as alive as it gets. It couldn't possibly be more alive than this. How could it be more alive than this? It is impossible. So the wonder and the mystery is that sitting on a chair is what seems to happen, and sitting on a chair is a full-on, boundless aliveness, boundless love, boundless freedom, already for no one. So the amazement, you could say, and the joy is that for no one is that just sitting on a chair is so full on juicy aliveness, just sitting on a chair. It doesn't have to be anything amazing, and it isn't actually anything amazing for someone, but actually the amazing thing is just how ordinary it is. That's what seems to be so stunning, is just how ordinary and simple this is. There's nothing spiritual about this. There's nothing special. There's nothing magical or mystical or otherworldly or sort of another dimension or some sort of amazing awareness or recognition. No, the wonder and the beauty and the simplicity of this is that it is so bloody simple and ordinary. It is breathtakingly ordinary. It's just bodies sitting on chairs, feeling what they're feeling, thinking what they're thinking, doing whatever they're doing, and just an apparently very normal, simple life seeming to happen. Or not, or whatever, it doesn't matter, because it's always so simple in the end. It's just a body doing whatever it seems to do. And this is what's happening right now. So this message actually is not saying that anything is going to happen, because nothing's going to happen. It's not saying that anything needs to happen, because nothing needs to happen, and nothing will ever happen to anyone, certainly not to you, but also not to no one. Nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be an event or an awakening or a death or a liberation or a moment. None of these things exist. They can't exist because all of these things would only ever happen in time. And the suggestion here is that there is no such thing as time. Time is an appearance and real time is an illusion. There's just what seems to be happening, which is naturally timeless, you could say, already. So in that sense, this message is simply an illumination, which is, I quite like that word because it's not even a pointing, it's an exposure or an illumination of how it already is. So nothing has to change, nothing will change. But what this message seems to do, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, is it seems to just illuminate how it already is for everyone on this call. It's a simple, very, very simple thing that seems to happen here. However, of course, what can also seem to happen is the experience of it being very complex and the experience of it being very complicated and very difficult and very mind-bending, exploding. Like, I can't get my head around this. I can't understand this. I can't work this out. That's also fine. And there's quite a fundamental reason that you can't work it out. And that's because what's being suggested here is there is nothing to work out. There's nothing to work out. There's no problem. So the life of the individual, the seeming individual that seems to feel as if they are someone, is absolutely fine, but it just turns out to be an illusion that never actually happened. But it seems to be a very frustrating, stressful life because the individual is constantly trying to solve a problem that isn't there. And of course, that's going to be stressful because the person is constantly trying to put together a puzzle that does not exist. There is no problem in life. There is no issue to solve. There is no mystery to be resolved or to be illuminated. And of course, the very common thing is that people will then come to non-duality, and there being no one is then the biggest new problem that they put into their slot. So it might before have been drugs or addictions or alcohol or trauma or relationships or enlightenment or whatever, stories or money, whatever it comes up with, and it just lives with on a day-to-day basis. And then it will come to non-duality, and then all of the energy will be put onto this one event of when I die and when the me dies and when there's no one. And that's also absolutely fine. It's just a very common thing that seems to happen when people come across non-duality. There's no problem with this, but the good news and the bad news, you could say, is that this event, this thing that you are waiting for to happen, for the me to die, for the me to fall away, for there to finally be a recognition of there being no one, is never going to happen. It does not exist. And the only recognition that is actually seemingly significant is the simple recognition that it does not exist and that there is nothing to recognize and that nothing is going to happen. So it's a total contradiction and a paradox, as life seems to be, because the only recognition there actually is the simple recognition that there isn't one. So you can't make sense of that. No one can. The mind just cannot go there, but it's an energetic reality that can seem to just collapse and open up. So this is not speaking to the individual, but there's just an energy that speaks here and an energy that can seemingly resonate with this.